So welcome back to everyone who's been with us since last night or just this morning. And for those of you who are just joining us new right now, welcome to the 7th Annual NJBIA, New Jersey Women Business Leaders Forum. We're so excited to have you here today. We have 3 extraordinary women who are going to present TED-style talks. Each one is going to be presented for about 15 minutes. And then at the end, we're going to do a roundtable Q&A. I invite you to put your questions into the chat, and then we'll get to those questions at the end. But before I go ahead and introduce them, allow me to introduce my co-pilot for the day. If you haven't met her yet today, this is Victoria Andresen, my incredible and awesome mom, who's so excited to be joining us today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to introduce our first speaker, who is Joetta. Joetta is a 4-time Olympian, renowned motivational speaker who's a highly sought after resource in business and professional circles, university, nonprofit, and community sectors. A respected businesswoman with her own perfume line, she's a critically acclaimed author, noted television and radio personality, and advocate for health and fitness initiatives. Joetta, the floor is all yours. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. And even though I don't see the bottom half, I know the top half is looking really good. So thank you for at least getting ready from top up. So you have my name. It is Joetta, and I go by one name. You hear Prince, Madonna, Socrates, Beyonce. So now you have Joetta. And you're probably saying, that's no big deal. I've been called one name all my life. But my name was given to me by my parents. So that's why you have Joetta. I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't already know. I'm here today to inspire, to encourage, to invigorate, to rejuvenate you. So as you pivot through the pandemic and get ready to deal with everything that you have to go through being leaders, I want to give you some information that will help you transform you into the gotta-do champion that you are. So you're probably saying, Joetta, how am I going to do that? I'm glad you asked that question. The first thing I want you to think about is your purpose. Know your purpose. As a 4-time Olympian, as a businesswoman, I know my purpose. As a younger person, I didn't really know my purpose because I thought my purpose was to tell everybody off. I had a quick tongue, and my mother would always say, Joetta, give thy thought no tongue. But as I got older, I knew my purpose. Your purpose is that thing inside of you, your design d'etre, that thing that lets you know that you know what you're doing, that you can do this. So I can talk, I can inspire. Stewards, I can inspire. So as I have morphed into the speaker that I am today, I learned that I can speak. And that is what my purpose is. My purpose is to make a difference in the lives of others by speaking, by reaching out. And when you have a purpose, that doesn't change if you're in a pandemic, if you don't get the promotion, if you do get the promotion, if you have a heart shape, that purpose is the one thing that remains consistent. It remains consistent because that allows you to never quit. Now, you're probably saying, Joetta, I'm sure you want to quit from time to time. And yes, that is true. There were times in my mind that I wanted to quit, but I was always raised that you have to reach beyond that knot and hold on. So in 1980, I was a senior in high school. I'm going to pause as you do some calculations. I have my AARP card like many of you, and I did not make the Olympic finals. I had to reach beyond the knot and hold on. In 1984, I'm in college. I had to reach beyond the knot and hold on because I did not make the Olympic team. I just missed the American record. I had to reach beyond that knot and hold on. And then I got rejected from grants. I had to reach beyond that knot and hold on. See, the longer you hold on and stay above that knot, eventually you will swing into your success. So 1988, 1992, 1996, and 2000. I'm a 4-time Olympian because I held on above that knot. And then I also became the women's team captain in 2000 because I held on beyond that knot. And additionally, I got into the New Jersey Hall of Fame because I reached beyond that knot and I held on. So my question to you, what Hall of Fame are you not getting into? Because you're not reaching beyond that knot and holding on. So when you do that, when you reach beyond that knot and hold on, when you're holding on, you have to get prepared. Now, preparation is really important in sports and in business. There are three things I like to talk about when you're talking about being prepared. What is your skill set? What is your strength? And what is your staying power? Your strength, that's your mind and your body and your soul. A strong mind, strong body equals a strong future. So work your muscles, mental and physical. And then know your skill sets. As an Olympian, I ran 800 meters. That's 2 times around the track. And I got around that track pretty fast. I got around there in 1 minute and 57 seconds. I knew my skill set. My skill sets were not in the 100-yard dash, that's a sprint. It was not in the pole vault or the long jump. My skill sets were 2 laps. In business, what is your skill set? Do you know your position? And when you do that, are you going to be able to stay in power? That's resilience. I'm going to give you a quick little story. There's an event called the Penn Relays, and it's at the University of Pennsylvania. And I have been going to that meet since I was 8 years old with my parents. So now I am this Olympic star. And so I decided this year that I would wait in the line, but I did not know the line would be that long. So I'm waiting in this line. I said, I can't do this. Let me make some phone calls and get my ticket into the meet. But everyone I called was busy. So I stayed in that line. And believe me, I was agitated. People were coming over to me saying, why are you waiting in line? Aren't you Joetta Clark? They were saying things to me that kind of got me more aggravated. So then I finally said to myself, I'm not going to let this aggravation get in the way of my assignment. So I stayed there. And I stayed there and I spoke to people. I networked with people. We reminisced about the good old days. And we talked about how the athletes of nowadays don't have the tenacity that we had. So it was a wonderful experience throughout that hour and a half. I didn't allow my mood to affect my movement. So what line are you getting out of because you are agitated? What line are you getting out of because someone said that you can't do something or you shouldn't do something or you did not get that promotion? I stayed in line. I stayed the course. And that reminds me of this. You follow one course until successful. That's an acronym, focus. Remain focused. But then when I did that, you have to also be patient. You're not going to get what you want all the time. I told you, I tried out 6 times to make the Olympic team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But if I did not reach beyond that knot and hold on, I would not have made my first Olympic team. So I'm telling you that because it takes patience. I wanted to be a model growing up. And quite frankly, they told me that I didn't have the Fifth Avenue look. I had a little scary curl that was like a Jerry curl look. I was thin and didn't have the look that they were looking for at that time. So I went through my life wanting to be a model, not having it happen. So I remained patient. One day Nike came to me and said, Joetta, we want a high-profile athlete to do this campaign for in the 1996 Olympic Games. How about me? I'm high-profile. I'm over 30. That's what they wanted. I have made 2 Olympic teams. I had some American records and some world records. I think I'm high-profile, don't you? But guess what? They said no. So I was upset. Give thy thought no tongue. You know what was going through my mind. I'm not good enough. What's the matter with me? I dare them not realize who I am and what I can bring to the company. All of those things went through my mind, but I didn't lose focus. I trained, I remained consistent, and the next month, they called me back and said, Joetta, the high-profile athlete we want to use, they want too much money. Money? I didn't want any money. I just wanted to have this outfit that you see behind me. The little jog bra, which is long now they're up beneath the breast, and the bottoms are so short, but at that time, that was pretty cool, showing enough skin. Know your worth, ladies. You don't know what you're worth. I went into something with a small vision of just having the campaign in Foot Locker magazines, at the Olympic Games, at the MARTA system in Atlanta. That was a small vision. Know your worth. And just because someone doesn't know your worth, it doesn't mean you're not worthy. The inner me, that's what you tell yourself. The inner me can also be your enemy. So the I-N-N-E-R, the enemy, you, can also be your enemy with the E-N-E-M-Y. So I implore you to focus in and follow one course until you're successful. I implore you to be patient and don't let the enemy get in the way of your success. Reach beyond that knot and hold on. Now, the next P is something that really is dear and near to me because I am perturbed. I am pissed off. Why? Because I am trying to make my fourth and final Olympic team. I'm at that time 38 years old in 2000. So my brother, who was my coach, decided to put his wife, Gerald, who is the Olympic gold medalist in the 400 in my event, which is the 800. She normally would run one lap. Now he wants to put her in my race because she's getting older. And to add insult to injury, I have a sister that's 15 years younger than me. She's running really fast and she too is now in my event. I am perturbed. I am pissed off. I am infuriated. I dare you put them in my event. Now you're looking at me saying, what's the big deal? Well, let me put it into business. You are the person that's doing everything in your company. And you have been admiring this woman at this other organization. On Monday, you get the memo that she's coming over. And you have similar skill sets and similar positions. And guess what, ladies? She's bringing her entire team to your organization. Does that put it in perspective? Are you happy? Not really, if you're being honest. I was not happy at all. My sister-in-law ran the race 2 times. She set the American record after running my event twice. And I had run that event for over 15, 20 years, okay? So I learned something from that. What the takeaway is that you can have someone with your same skill sets and you can grow together, change the environment, and it can also make you better. Instead of looking and focusing on what they're doing, remember to reach beyond that knot and hold on. And so when I did that, I did not get the American record, but I did run 1 minute and 57 seconds, which was a PR for someone that was 38 years old. So I'm patting myself on the back because they said, Joetta, you're too old. Why don't you retire? People are always saying things to you that will get you off your mark. The reason why I didn't retire was because the younger people that they thought that I should leave for, I was beating them. So don't let anyone push you out. Know what you're worthy of, know your worth, and know what you can do. You win or lose by an inch. Inch is an acronym. I never cease hoping. So I never ceased hoping. I got upset, I got agitated, but I did not let my agitation get in the way of my assignment. So then we have the other P, which is persevere. 25 years, maybe 30 years of competing, 25 years at a high level. The other 5 years was age group track and field. I went on to school and got degrees and got certificates and things like that. I persevered and I'm still standing because I was able to redevelop, recreate, and rethink and remarket myself, reposition myself. You couldn't do what I did in 1980 in 2020. The times are different. So we have to change, you have to morph. So perseverance. I'm gonna best sum this up by giving you this quick little story of this guy that was out fishing, and he always took a sandwich, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and some milk with him. So this day he did the same thing. He was fishing. He got hungry, he sat down and grabbed his lunch, and he noticed that his lines were pulling, that meant some fish were on those lines. So he opened up his milk and he put the milk down and went to attend the lines to see what kind of fish he had caught. So when he did that, these 2 frogs jumped in the bottle of milk and they began doing what frogs do when they're in wet environments. But the one frog gave up. But the other frog kept on kicking and trying to get out of that bottle. For argument's sake, I'm going to say that frog was the woman frog. So when the guy came back from looking at his fish and brought them back to where he was seated, he ate some of the sandwich. And lo and behold, sitting on a keg of butter was that female frog. See, I use that because that female frog is you. She is knowledgeable. She is direct. She has experience. She is confident. She's competent. and she is determined to reach beyond that knot and hold on. So often in life, we look at ourselves as leaders and we don't understand that assignment. Well, you may not be a leader. You may be a leader, but whatever you are, you have to tell your enemy that you are great. You are extraordinary. As an athlete, I had to look at myself as being extraordinary. I couldn't waste my time telling ordinary people my visions, my dreams, my aspirations. They don't get it and they don't get you. So it's important that you surround yourself with people who have the visions that you have that will ultimately get you the victory that you want. As leaders, we do these 4 things. We analyze, we organize, we initiate, and we follow through. As an athlete, I analyze my competitors. What did they run? How did they go out? As a businesswoman, I analyze my competition. How many grants are they getting? How often are they writing the grants? And then when you analyze, you organize. You organize your troops. I organize my staff and my business. I organize my coaching, my strength coach, my nutritionist, my mental coach, my track and field coach. You analyze, you organize, you initiate. The initiation is practice. As an athlete, I practice in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. As a businesswoman, someone that's had a business for over 25 years, as you know, most businesses that are run, small businesses that are run, they falter within 5 years. It's been 25 years of me having this business because I initiate. I find out what's going on. I keep my finger on the button for success. I'm not afraid to get the younger group into the company that will help me to remain relevant with what I'm doing. So you analyze, you organize, you initiate, and then you follow through. Follow through is what you do as champions, because as champions, as we show up, we show out. And who better to show out for it is yourself. So I want to just wrap this all together because I gave you all these P's and all these acronyms. I gave you my one little name. I just want to leave you with the poem of leadership. In this garden, plant 6 rows of peas. Have a purpose, get prepared, be patient, get perturbed, persevere, and pray. Plant 3 rows of squash. Squash gossip, squash criticism, and squash indifferences. Plant 3 rows of lettuce. Let us love one another, let us be loyal, and let us be truthful. No garden would be complete without 4 rows of turnips. Turn up for yourself. Turn up for the journey. Turn up with the determination to do a better job tomorrow than you did today. And turn up with the mindset that you might just have to reach beyond that knot and hold on. If you do that, you will have planted the garden of leadership. And as you know, a leader is only a leader if someone's following. If no one's following, you're merely taking a walk. Thank you, leaders, for letting me speak with you this morning. And I look forward to seeing you in person soon. My time is up.
Well, Joetta, that was fantastic. I love the garden of leadership. I'm getting ready to sow the seeds right now. You are fantastic. You know, we're going to have some Q&A with you in a little bit, but thank you so very much.
Thank you.
We are going to now introduce Terry Glebocki. Terry is the CEO of Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Talk about a male-dominated industry. She was promoted to CEO less than a year after joining Ocean Casino Resort as the CFO, has made quite the turnaround there that we're going to hear about. She also serves as president of the Casino Association of New Jersey, where I still have to say she's the first female president of the Casino Association. Terry, thanks for joining us, and the floor is all yours.
Thanks so much, Michelle, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. What a wonderful event. Women supporting women. I think there's nothing more empowering than that. So I am absolutely honored that I was asked to speak today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey. I was not running races as Joetta was, but our stories are probably very similar. You see, I'm a longtime CFO. I'm a first-time CEO. I've been doing this. I've been in gaming for about 34 years now, and only the last 2 have I been in this CEO position. So CFO at heart, I want to break my career down into the first half or more, and then I want to talk mostly about that building that I have shown in my background here, because I think that's the more exciting part of my journey. But in order to understand my background, I thought I would share this. The first 21 years that I spent in gaming, I played it very safe. I joined gaming as a senior internal auditor. I then continued and I just went up the ladder one step at a time, one rung at a time. My pedigree was good. I went to a very good school. I went into public accounting right after school. I had the credentials. I was a CPA, and I was going to climb this ladder, and I was going to do it in gaming in Atlantic City. Over the course of 21 years, I would hold 8 positions over 2 companies and end up as a senior vice president of finance, which was just about the highest position that you could have in gaming in Atlantic City in that particular company. But during this time, I was noticing that gaming was proliferating across the country. Where gaming had only been in Atlantic City and Las Vegas when I started, it was now on all of our borders. It was everywhere. And the Atlantic City experience was very valuable. And so I watched a lot of my colleagues leave Atlantic City and go start gaming in other states, in other companies. And they were growing much faster than I felt that I had with my slow and steady. But, it was important to me that I balance my career and my family. I was a wife and a mother of 2. My kids were in school. My husband was self-employed in this region. And although I really was excited about some of these opportunities in other states, I wasn't sure that I wanted to put my career in front of everything that was important to my family. Many people were doing the long distance relationships. That didn't work for me. It works for some, but I really wanted to take a risk. So I had done the slow and steady. I succeeded in that, but I was looking for that risk that would allow me to still balance, if that's the word that we want to use, or juggle my family life and my professional life. And an opportunity presented itself. And for me, that opportunity was this building that you see right behind you. Although it wasn't Ocean at the time, it was Revel. Now, many of you are from Atlantic City, and maybe you know the story of Revel Entertainment or Revel Casino and Resort. If you don't, I just wanted to bring you back to 2007 when I joined Revel. Here was an opportunity for me to get in on the ground floor of something brand new. This was going to be my breakout role. I actually took a bit of a demotion to become employee number 5 at Revel, and I was going to help build a resort unlike anything Atlantic City had ever seen, unlike anything New Jersey had ever seen, and we thought unlike anything the East Coast would ever see. And it was going to take about 5 years to do that because we started doing it in 2007. And as you're all painfully aware, there was an economic crisis. So bad timing for sure. Trying to raise money to build a $2 billion asset during one of the largest recessions that any of us will ever hopefully experience in our lifetime was certainly challenging. We had starts, we had stops, we had tragedies. But I'm happy to say that we persevered, and after 5 years, we opened this resort that you see behind us. It was named Revel, and it was everything we could have ever dreamed. It was the most exciting point in my entire career. It was everything we had hoped for, except one very important thing. It wasn't profitable. As a matter of fact, it was tragically unprofitable. So now I've taken this big risk in my career. This is going to be my breakout role. And I'm in a property that in the first year of being open loses $150 million before debt service. We're in a building that cost $2.4 billion to build to lose $150 million in the first year. We immediately go into bankruptcy. Coming out of bankruptcy, there's a new board of directors put in place, and I'm promoted from vice president of finance into the CFO role. This is my first true CFO role, and I'm so excited. But again, I'm CFO of a failing property. There's a new team put in place, and we're told, try to fix it. Try to make it stop losing money. And that's exactly what we did. And we had little time to do that. And we were able to decrease the losses from $150 million in the first 12 months to $80 million in the last 12 months. But the lenders took a look at this and they said, no, we're losing too much money. You need to close it. And we were forced to close Revel after just 2.5 years. 2.5 years. It took 5 years to build, and within 2.5 years, this operation came to a halt. The lenders said we would lose less money being closed than we would open. So now I'm thinking, this is horrible. This is the worst day of my career. We have to lay off all of the employees. It was a very bad time in Atlantic City. 4 properties closed in Atlantic City that very year. This property should have never been one of them, but unfortunately wasn't profitable, so I understood it. The lenders asked me to stay on and help them try to sell the property. And I was in at this point for over 7 years, my breakout career. I don't know how I'm going to salvage my resume at this point, but I agree. I will stay on. I've invested this much time. I know this building. I'm the longest tenured employee at this point. I will stay on and I'll help you try to sell the building. And that's what we did. I worked tirelessly. I toured more people through this building. Any big name in gaming, you name it, he was here, and I gave him a tour of that property. There were places that wanted to turn it into condominiums. I gave them tours. I gave tours to families, to mothers, to brothers. Literal families came in. One quick anecdote, one family that came in, they had a college-age daughter with them, and I heard the daughter say to the father, "Daddy, if we buy this, do we get all the wine too?" She's looking at a $2.4 billion asset. She wants to know if she's going to get the wine. I had another buyer, potential buyer, wanted to bring his dog in. I said, yes, please bring the dog, because I'm thinking to myself, someday in an opportunity just like this, I want to say, I even toured a dog through this building. It was breaking my heart. My heart and soul was in this building. I had taken my very successful career and I invested it in this building, and now it's going to auction. So we went to auction, and a developer from South Florida winds up winning the auction, and he buys the property for $82 million. That's million with an M. It was $2.4 billion to buy it. He buys it for $82 million. This was tragic, certainly tragic. I was there till the very end. Just like when you're selling your home, I was the one who handed the keys to the new buyer, and I said to him, try not to lose these, because there's a lot of locks that this works in this building. And then I was going to work from home for Revel. As many of you know, as the accountant, we often turn off the lights. And so I've agreed that I will stay on for a bit and help wind up the financial affairs of this property. But as luck would have it, in touring all those people that I toured through the property trying to sell it and meeting all the people that I did, I met the folks from Tropicana Entertainment. And the senior management team had come in, they looked at Revel, they decided they didn't want to buy Revel, but they met me. And when they had an opening for a CFO, they called me. And how exciting was this? I took my resume that I thought was in shambles. Revel truly was one of the largest debacles in gaming history. I went from being the CFO of a single property that was losing money to being the CFO of 8 profitable properties, a public company with the majority shareholder who was Carl Icahn. I now get to work out of Atlantic City, so I'm still handling that family thing that was so important to me. I'm home based in Atlantic City, but we have properties across the country, and I'm able to just do day trips and travel to all of these properties and learn so much. And the next 3.5 years, while Revel sat as almost a tombstone to my past in Atlantic City, I was now working and learning and growing Tropicana Entertainment, and I was just so fortunate. And none of that would have happened had I not stayed on with Revel and tried to make the best out of a bad situation. Over my time at Tropicana Entertainment, I'm happy to say that we grew that company, and we grew it by almost 95% over my 3.5 years that I was there. We increased the profits significantly. So much so that we attracted the attention at Tropicana of a larger gaming company, Eldorado Resorts, who came in and bought Tropicana. This was really the pinnacle of my career. I couldn't have been happier. I did what I was asked to do. I helped sell that property too, but this time it went for a very nice price. And meanwhile, Revel was sitting vacant. But that South Florida developer, he winds up selling to a Denver developer who managed to reopen the property as Ocean. So just at the time that I'm winding up my career at Tropicana, Ocean reopens. It was the summer of 18. Ocean opens in July. It's run by a developer, not really a gaming guy. And the property opens in a deja vu is the only thing that comes to mind. Ocean is losing money, and it's losing money month in and month out. There's 9 gaming properties in Atlantic City, and Ocean was consistently in last place. I get a call 8 months after Ocean has reopened, and I've been on the sidelines now for a few months, having left Tropicana, and I'm asked to come back as CFO. I come in as CFO, we reorganize a new team, and now I'm able to take all of the things that I had learned from all of these people that I had toured through this very building, hear all the things that they thought were wrong, and start to make some changes. We were able to right-size the cost structure. We were able to reallocate the marketing dollars. We were able to start growing revenues while reducing expenses. And although the property lost $42 million in its first 12 months, I joined the company 8 months in. That 12th month, June of 2019, we actually made a profit. For the first time in this property's history, we had a profitable month. And then we continued to make money July and August. In August, I'm elevated into the CEO spot, first time in my career. It's on an interim basis. They're looking for a permanent CEO. The naysayers in town are saying, well, anybody can make money in the summer in Atlantic City. It's a seasonal business. You got to be able to make money in the summer, but not this property. This property had consistently lost money every single month. We then continue to improve the operations. We make money in October, November, December. We're beating the odds. We had such momentum behind us, and I'm promoted into a permanent CEO role in December. That 2019 year, we actually made a profit, albeit only $5 million. And for a property this size, that doesn't pay the debt service, but it was huge for this property. It's all I had wanted. I wanted this property to show a profit. Anyone else in Atlantic City would be licking their wounds over a $5 million profit. We were celebrating. We were bonusing people. We were figuring it out. We go into 2020. Things are great. We hold our own in January. In February, we make more money than we made in July the summer before. This is unheard of. February is the worst month. It's only got 28 days. It's a horrible month. We do great. And then COVID hits. And it hits all of us, and it hits all of our businesses, and it seems just so unfair on many levels. And to me, it felt reminiscent of Revel. All of a sudden, I have to lay off 2,300 employees. I've got to figure out how this building, how Ocean can survive and reopen post-COVID, whenever that might be. But I got to tell you, I'm so proud of what my team did here. We went in and we said, this is a unique opportunity. It's an opportunity we'll never get again. We have 107 days, it wound up being, where we can decide what we want to be when we come out of COVID. We're going to show off this property for being the newest property in town, the shiniest property in town. It's big. You can social distance. We've got amazing outdoor spaces. We're going to reinvent ourselves post-COVID. And I'm so proud to say that's exactly what we did. We reopened in July. Our profits have been on a steady incline. Where the property had originally been 9 out of 9 in gaming revenues, we had climbed to 6 out of 9 pre-COVID. Post-COVID, we've now been in the number 3 place for 14 months in a row. That first 12 months where we lost 42 million, the most recent 12 months ending August of 2021, we've profited by $66 million. We've had $108 million turnaround over a 2-year period. This property is everything that I ever dreamed it would be. I feel that the property has been vindicated. I'm so proud of the team. I'm so proud to lead this team. This building will be part of Atlantic City's future. And we have really, really exciting things to come. So what I ask all of you, if you haven't been to Ocean, shameless plug, this is where you should be if you're looking for a weekend getaway or a midweek escape. I'm so proud of what we've done here, and I hope that you all have successes in your careers. Thank you for having me.
Good personality.
What an incredible turnaround, Terry. I mean, you
Wow.
talk about persistence, perseverance, loyalty, slow and steady. And, you know, you talk about loyalty, loyal to your family, that you have your balance. That baby right behind you, right? That is your baby, that Ocean building. Cheers to you. What an incredibly inspiring story. Can't wait to come back to the round table in a bit. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And now we have to wrap up our TED Talks, Michele Shipp Meyer. Michele is Major League Baseball's first Chief People and Culture Officer. She leads human resources, diversity, inclusion, and culture, and off-field operations globally for the league, supporting the Central League office, all 30 major league clubs, and 120 minor league clubs. You hear the wow next to me over here? She also supports the league in managing through crisis situations and serves as a media spokesperson and strategic advisor on people-related matters for club owners. Michele, thanks for joining us. The floor is all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Michele. I'm really happy to be here. And I just want to bow down to your mom, Victoria. Victoria, thanks for being here. It's an inspiration to see you. Joetta and Terry, you two are just amazing. You're rock stars. As I was listening to both of you, I was thinking about all of the words, Joetta, in your garden of leadership, and both of you exemplify that. So I'm really humbled and honored to share this virtual platform with you today. And I'm going to just share a little bit about my journey and some of the lessons that I've learned, excuse me, which actually sound very similar to some of the lessons that Joetta and Terry have shared. So I'm just going to start personally. I always like to start kind of on a personal note. When you think about my career, I always make sure that everybody knows that along with that career comes a very complex person, who family is first for everything for me. So I'm a mom of 3 sons who are 23, 20, and 19, and they are my rocks and my heartbeats, every single one of my heartbeats. I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, granddaughter, sister, aunt, friend, and a leader of people. I manage a team and lead a team that is indeed global. And every single one of these people that I touch every single day matters to me greatly. I lead with people first. So everything that you're going to hear about my journey, just know that kind of in the background, it always is centered around the people that are part of that with me. My career story, it's funny, when I was thinking about this talk and I was thinking about how to describe my career journey, I would say it's one of a couple of key elements. One is I've had to constantly get out of my comfort zone. I've always been the first everywhere I've been. And it's always like a new shake of my foundation. So I've always been getting out of my comfort zone. In my current role, I'm the first most senior woman and woman of color ever to work across Major League Baseball. And so indeed, that has been another episode of getting out of my comfort zone. Another hallmark of my career has been risk-taking. From role to role, I have made really scary moves and had to take some calculated risks. And interestingly enough, none of these opportunities that I'm going to share with you have been jobs I've applied for. They've been phone calls. They've been, hey, Michele, do you think you'd be interested in? Hey, Michele, we think you should, put your name in the hat for this. And I had to decide if I was going to take a risk. I think the final hallmark of my career that I want to point out is that I have consistently really lean into that inner voice, not the enemy, but actually the inner voice of being self-aware and knowing who I am and knowing what I'm passionate about and knowing what motivates me. So that said, I'll take you quickly through the story and then talk a little bit about the lessons learned. So I actually started my career as an employment attorney. I went to law school at Seton Hall Law School in Newark, New Jersey. I went to undergrad at Rutgers, by the way, Jersey girl through and through. I live in central New Jersey in Middlesex, now with my husband in our very empty nest. That's a whole nother story for drinks. But I am indeed, I started my career as an employment attorney, and I really thought, I don't know if you guys remember the TV show LA Law, but I wanted to be like one of those lawyers on LA Law. I wanted to be a partner in a law firm, and it's going to be all beautiful, and I had it set in stone. Well, here's what happened to me within my first couple of years in big law. I realized that litigation was not for me. I realized that I didn't like the fight that came with litigation, and I actually discovered a passion for employment law. Remember what I said when I started this conversation. I lead with people first. I love people. I'm the person that really never met a stranger. I will talk to anyone. So I fell into the space of employment law, and I was litigating, I was coaching, I was counseling organizations on how to navigate people issues. And I ended up landing a great opportunity to go from a really big firm which didn't have a big employment law practice, to a smaller firm that was an employment law boutique firm. That opportunity presented itself to me when I was literally at the stage of about to have my second son, and it was really close to home. It was focused on employment law. So again, I took a risk. I went to this firm where I worked for about 6 years, and I grew as an employment attorney. It was a great place to be because I took lessons and learned from several amazing employment lawyers, all of whom was very different, all of whom had a very different style. And to this day, I credit them for turning me into the agile leader that I am today. Every single one of them brought something different to the table that I was able to take insights from. So I also just say as a side note, learn from those around you because there are indeed lessons to be learned. I was about 6 years into my tenure there. I now had 3 sons, and I was approached about the possibility of partner track. And with partner track, if there are any lawyers here, you know how this works. With partner track, not only are you doing your work as a lawyer, but you have to help grow the business by bringing in clients. And I have to tell you, honestly, I had absolutely no interest in trying to build a client base. I had zero interest. All I wanted to do was do my employment law work, the core of it, the counseling, the training, the coaching, and I wanted to go home and be with my babies. That's it. That's all I wanted to do. So I decided, again, being true to myself and knowing that trying to be a partner and grow business was just not going to be my thing, I decided to tell my managing partner that I was going to forego the opportunity to become partner. And what that meant, I would have to leave the firm. So they supported me. And they actually said to me, hey, if this is what you want to do, you should go ahead and do it. Let's help you think about your next move. And the managing partner of the firm actually helped me land a really great gig in state government, where I ended up ultimately working for Governor McGreevey, and I ran the state's Department of Equal Employment Opportunity. What a fun job. I mean, I literally took all of my employment law skill sets. I learned some new skill sets in this role, and for the first time ever, I managed a huge team across 33 state departments and agencies. I won't get into the details, but suffice it to say, it honed my skills in an employment law perspective that was really more HR slanted and policy slanted than it was legally slanted. So again, I'm rounding out my career and I'm rounding out my experience. And unfortunately, for those of you who remember back in the day, our governor resigned at the time. I was an appointee of his. My husband was an appointee of his. And I'll never forget the day I went home and I looked at my husband and I said, what are we going to do? We have 3 kids. We have a mortgage. We have both of our law school debts, loans to pay off. And now we have a boss who's leaving and we're appointees of his. When he leaves, it's highly likely that both of us will be asked to leave as well. So my husband had judicial aspirations, and it was incredibly important that he stay put. So I raised my hand and took one for the team. And I said to my husband, you know what, honey, I'll go. I'll leave. I'll find a new opportunity. And through the power of networks and relationships, I actually navigated landing a really, really great job at Merrill Lynch in the Pennington office at the time. And it was a great landing ground for me because I ended up working as the in-house employment lawyer for Merrill Lynch on a global standpoint, from a global standpoint. It took every single one of the skill sets that I had learned over my 9-year career, and I poured it into that role. It was a great job. I got to travel all over the world. I got to meet great people. And again, I was doing what I loved. I was counseling, coaching, training, building relationships, connecting with people, helping people, resolve disputes, etc. And wouldn't you know it, I also had then the Merrill Lynch debacle when Bank of America bought it out, and we had a new CEO. We got caught up in the financial crisis scandal, and I found myself out of a job. And I can't even begin to tell you how, when you have a job you love and it's suddenly gone, how heartbreaking it is. Fast forward, I ultimately took a quick pivot and took a temporary job back at the state until I ultimately landed a permanent role at Prudential Financial. where I was for about 9 years, 8 or 9 years. And I went there as an employment lawyer, very similar job to the job I had at Merrill, absolutely loved it. And then one day I got a call. I got a call from my CEO, and he asked me to come on up to his office, and he says, hey, he goes, you know, I know you love your job as an employment lawyer, but I've got a stretch opportunity for you. And I was kind of like, okay, like, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? And he actually told me that he had been watching me, that the leadership had been watching me, and that I had some skill sets that they thought might serve them well in a new position that was becoming available. And I asked him what it was. And he says, well, he says, for the past 10 years, we've had a chief diversity officer here at Prudential who's retiring. And we think that you should put your name in the hat to take over as his successor. And I remember, I didn't say it to him, but in my head, I'm thinking, wait a minute, like, that's a totally different job than being an employment lawyer. That means managing a budget. That means, you know, leading this big team. This means doing all these things I never did before. And he says, well, look, I think you'd be great at it. We've been watching the way you navigate, the way you collaborate, the way you have launched and driven initiatives globally for this organization. And we think you could actually really pull this off. So I remember going home and talking to my folks, talking to my husband, thinking about it. And my dad actually said something really funny to me. He goes, hey, Michele, do you like working there? And I said, yeah. He goes, do you want to stay there? I said, yeah. He goes, well, I don't know if you realize it or not, but I think you're being voluntold for that job, so you better take it. And I kind of was like, okay, my dad's a lot wiser than me. He's a lot older than me, so I'm going to listen to him and take this job. Again, it played right into my people passions. It played right into everything that I'd done before. By the way, I forgot to mention that as an employment attorney at both Pru and Merrill, I actually was employment counsel to the diversity and inclusion teams. So I knew intimately the work that they were doing and the initiatives that they were driving. That led me through a series of positions up to and including the one I have now, where I have led HR and diversity, equity, and inclusion across a couple of really major organizations. It's been a great journey. I will tell you though, going from law to a CDO kind of HR leadership role has been really, it was a real challenge for me initially, because when I was practicing law, I had the law on my side. I had the rule of law. I had the statute. I had the case law. I could walk into a leader and say, hey, you need to do X because this is what the statute says you need to do, or you need to do Y because this is what the courts have said. Well, in my line of work, not so much. You've got, subjective opinions. You've got people with their own, points of view on different things. You've got, for example, a climate that we live in right now where there are so many issues looming around diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's not a day that goes by that there's not some type of drama on these issues. So I had to pivot really quickly and learn how to lead and influence without kind of the authority of the law, if you will. So it was a time for me in my career over the last 10 years or so where I've had to really lean into kind of listening to stakeholders, influencing change, and then giving the power to others to drive the change. As a DEI leader, as an HR leader, my job is to put the policies and the processes and the systems in place to support our people, but I actually am not the executor of those policies and procedures. It's the actual leaders, the business heads. So the head of our social media team, the head of our baseball operations team, the head of our marketing team, I hand them the tools. I counsel and coach them, but then they have to go bring it to life. So on any given day, I'm collaborating and partnering and trying to influence change on and off the field for Major League Baseball. I can tell you that over my time, I've learned a few key things that I'll leave you with as far as takeaways. And again, they very much align to what Joetta and Terry talked about. One is know your craft. You have to know your craft. So I am continuously seeking professional development and trying to grow in the HR and diversity space. I would say also, if you haven't heard me say it enough, monitor your own skill sets, your likes, your dislikes, know your strengths and weaknesses. because all of that is going to be with you through your career, and you need to play up your strengths, and you need to improve and work your weaknesses, and you need to know what's going to drive you to be passionate about what you do every day. Like Terry so eloquently described her journey. I mean, you heard the passion in all of that. You heard the commitment in all of that. Like, that's what it's all about. The other thing I've learned is you've got to go for what you want. You've got to speak up. You've got to ask for feedback. You have to ask for guidance and direction from whoever it is you report to about, hey, what's next for me? What's my path to success? What's the next step? What do I need to get there? How am I doing? How is my performance? Do I have areas for improvement? Where do you think I'm strong? Those are all things you need to get so that you can grow and thrive in your career. And I think I alluded to this before, build relationships. Relationships are critically important, not just mentors, but a board or a network of mentors. And then finally, be authentic. Be true to yourself, and be courageous. So with that, I just want to say, Michele, thank you again for letting me share the stage today with you, with your mom, Victoria, and with Terry and Joetta.
So incredible.
Wonderful.
The trends in your collective journeys.
Incredible.
To me, it's, bring the first thing that, when I found this thread is bring your A game every day, and your skill set matters. And think about who's watching you, because guess what? People are watching you, and opportunities present themselves when you are on your A game every day. And when you pay attention to the fact that, people are watching. A game every day. I love we had ropes and ladders, right? We have Joetta, who is reach beyond the knot and hang on. And then Terry is, one rung at a time. And these things are so true. And the whole concept of being true to yourself, right? We say all the time, the only way you can be successful and good at what you do, if you have the skills, right, is to be passionate about what you do. And if you're not true to yourself and you take an opportunity that is not where you want to be at the point in life, you can't be passionate, and then you can't bring your A game, no matter how much skill you have in that spot. And you've all shown your loyalty to your individual craft and skill set, and how you've managed and overcome incredible obstacles. I am so incredibly inspired by the three of you, as I know the audience is. So I give you a huge round of applause for not just for your presentation today, but for the women leaders that you are, and how we all can emulate the things that you shared with us today. We have time for just one or two questions. And if anybody wants to pop one up in the chat, I will certainly ask that question. And you've just so inspired us that I think folks are still like, I took 3 pages of notes just on ways to be inspired. Strong body, strong mind, strong soul. Don't allow your mood to affect your movement, right? Pick the right time to take a risk. Don't we all know that? Here's a question. What's your morning routine to get into the right zone for success? Who wants to start? Terry, go ahead.
I live about 45 minutes from work, and I find that morning drive, that's the time for me to prepare for the day. And the same thing on the way home. I take that 45 minutes to sort of process and think about what's going on. We work 24/7 now. We've all got cell phones. There's always something there, but really taking that time in the car to get myself prepared to attack the day and give it my all when I get to work.
Thanks, Terry. Joetta?
What I do in the morning, thanks for asking that question, I get up and get spiritually connected. I do my relaxation and visualization, and then I do my oils, and then I do some type of exercise. Remember, strong mind, strong body. And then I just say I can handle whatever's out there for me to do. And I just go about and do that. But basically, I make sure I'm connected spiritually and mentally so I can handle everything that I'm going to face that day.
Thank you. Michele?
Yeah, so I actually start preparing for the morning the night before. I am one of those people who must have 7 hours of sleep. I must have it. So I actually am thinking about bed over dinner and what time I need to get into bed based on what time I need to get up the next morning. And I also give myself a lot of time in the morning to take my time. Rushing is not a good scene for me. So my husband laughs at me some mornings when I come out of the bathroom. He's like, I really can't understand what it is you were doing in there. I heard no water. Like, were you even doing anything in there? But I was like, I was taking my time. Don't worry about what I was doing. So for me, it's about rest, right? Recharging overnight, and then giving myself time and space in the morning to do my thing, regardless of what that may look like.
So a common theme of some questions is really garnering your inner strength. And when you have an obstacle staring down at you, where do you go? How do you garner that inner strength to combat what it is that's facing you? Michele, you want to start?
Yeah, so this is I love this question. So the first thing I'll say, and I didn't say this before, but I have a mantra about managing my mindset. I'm going to say that again. Manage your mindset. And I think Joetta and Terry and I have probably all been through this, but there are things that are completely outside of your control. There really are. So when I'm confronted with obstacles, I have to really kind of assess. I like, Joetta, the way you said it before, like kind of analyzing. Like, I start with analyzing the situation, right? Determining what I can control, if anything, and then I manage that, and then I let it go. It's really about just managing that mindset and not getting yourself all caught up, so that your inner voice becomes that enemy Joetta was talking about. And you have to be deliberate about it, because otherwise it will take control.
Joetta?
I think that when it's all said and done, the one thing that I think that's important is that you just have to realize that everything is not going to go perfectly for you, but you've done great things before. And when you're having those challenging times, I call it your you go girl moment. It's okay to pull on that, because what you've done before will help you now. And there's nothing wrong with you going back, looking at what you've done, because that gives you the energy and the resolve to move forward. So that's what I do. I make sure that I don't stay in that you go girl moment too long, but it's good to go back and tap into that to get ready to handle everything that you will have in the future.
We all need our personal cheerleader for sure. Terry?
I like the word that Michele used, where she said deliberate. Sometimes the challenges are put upon you and you feel as though you need to make an immediate decision. I need to make it right now. And oftentimes you don't. Sometimes if you just take the time, get input, talk to people that you need to, and then make a deliberate decision, I find that best.
Thanks. So, it's often difficult for women to toot their own horn, right? There's this whole thing about, oh, are you showing off? Are you being too aggressive? There's that whole concern. And yet we say each and every day we must, right? We must absolutely take pride in what we do and have confidence and stand strong and let people know, hey, you go girl, I did it. And you should know I did it too. How do you all go about ensuring that you properly toot your own horn? And what advice would you give for those who are a little shy about doing that? And Joetta, why don't you start?
I think that goes back to what we heard earlier about being your own advocate and knowing your worth. And if you're doing the good work, people see it anyway. So if you say something and they've been watching you as they were looking at Michele, you're just speaking truth into power. So I think a lot of times we are afraid to do that, but you speak your truth into power, and there's nothing wrong for being your best advocate and saying, this is what I'm doing, know your worth. But I always say remain humble in doing that.
Awesome. Terry?
I had a consultant say something to me one time, and it was before I was promoted into that CFO role the first time. And he said, Terry, you need to start leading your own parade. There's a lot of people leading your parades, and it doesn't come easy for me. My mother always told me the cream will always come to the top. I thought people would just recognize it. But now I take the time to ring the bell. When there's a success, I ring the bell. I tell my team, we're going to celebrate the successes. And you have to put it out there, because otherwise they're oftentimes overlooked. I got to tell you, a guy wouldn't hesitate to do it. And we oftentimes are reluctant to do it. So get out there, ring the bell.
Yeah, I'll just chime on and say I learned this one the hard way a long time. So I am very strategic about finding ways to toot the horn. I remember many years ago, I was working on a project and someone else took all the credit on the project because I was too quiet with my team and working in the background to get it done. And I was stunned. I mean, I was literally blown away. because I was thinking in a spirit of collaboration, but my colleague was thinking in the spirit of winning. So from that point forward, I made it my business to make sure that every time I met with my leader, the board, or the CEO, I had a standing agenda or document that kind of highlighted, overview of the DEI team's accomplishments, overview of the HR team's agenda for the next quarter. I right now give the commissioner every single month a monthly report. And in the front of that report, it says key accomplishments. And in the second part of that report, it's like pending initiatives. And I literally spotlight and highlight not just the work that I'm doing, but the work that everyone on my 3 teams is doing, so that no one can ever say to me, hey, I didn't know you were doing that. I didn't know your team was doing that, and so forth and so on. And to Terry and Joetta's point, this is a hard one because, there are whole master classes on building your brand. But I will tell you, no matter where you work, no matter what you do, if you're part of a team, you need to find a way, even if it's just in a weekly agenda with your boss, your one-on-one, just to say, key items underway, and then here are some of my successes. I actually meet with my direct reports every week. We have a one-on-one, and I tell them, I want a 1-page agenda. I want you to tell me your key priorities on the top, and on the bottom, I want you to tell me what your key accomplishments have been since we last sat down and talked. I'm helping them brag about themselves so that I can brag about them to my leadership team. So be strategic and deliberate about how you do that. It's really important.
These have been some fantastic tips for our participants today. We always talk about, we identify the challenges, but then we all have to work together to identify the opportunities, and we have to overcome them and move on. All right. And don't be a whiner if you can't bring a solution along with it. So you guys have, the 3 of you ladies have been so extraordinary today. A round of applause for you and for your successes. Again, not just in your presentation today, but what you are contributing each and every day. I always say great businesses make great communities. It's great business leaders that make great businesses that make great communities. And the 3 of you are an attribute to that. So thank you so much.